Cross live now to former FBI agent and whistleblower Colleen Rowley. Thanks for joining us here on RT, Colleen. Now, I suppose we should start with what your thoughts are about the CIA's chief's statement about WikiLeaks.
You know, the CIA director is really showing how he's devoid of any facts here. He's going out and vilifying WikiLeaks and Assange and Edward Snowden. We should call him out and just say, you're vilifying truth and transparency and basically freedom of the press. The premise is entirely backwards. Truth and freedom of the press and transparency actually are what keeps us safe. I co-wrote an article, years ago that if we had had WikiLeaks at the time of before 9/11, we probably could have prevented it, because it essentially was a lack of sharing of information. And this is the 9/11 Commission, by the way, who found this, not me necessarily. They found that it was a lack of sharing of information, and most importantly, a lack of sharing of information with the public that actually allowed 9/11 to happen. So when Director Pompeo now says that transparency in WikiLeaks and no one disputes that the documents that WikiLeaks get, usually showing fraud, showing deceit, showing a lot of bad things, that they are completely honest and truthful. No one disputes that. And so I think what we have here is a director who wants to control the message. And of course, their message is itself dangerous in many cases. If you look at what's going on here with Syria, Pompeo should be spending his time on trying to find what happened in Syria, as opposed to looking at, going after WikiLeaks at this point. We don't even see evidence that the intelligence analysts were involved in these declarations that came from the Trump campaign or Trump administration. We don't see any intelligence assessment of that. MIT Professor Emeritus Theodore Postel says it almost could not certainly have happened the way Donald Trump is saying it happened. And we don't see any indication that intelligence analysts or CIA analysts were even involved. Yet Pompeo now is distracting us with WikiLeaks.
Well, Colleen, I suppose it is odd timing, isn't it? Do you think it's significant? Why do you think he chose to criticize it so harshly now?
I think when he calls the people who are the followers of WikiLeaks, most of whom are truth and transparency, and we're not even activists, but we know that good government, you can go back to Thomas Jefferson, everyone knows that good government depends, and safety and security, by the way, depends on truth and transparency. If anyone should know that that the deep state plays all kinds of games with the press, leaking false information, planting things, it should be Donald Trump. Donald Trump was right the first time when he praised WikiLeaks. He was also right the first time when he criticized Hillary Clinton's fascination with regime change and her constantly pushing for violent regime changes.
Colleen, let me jump in there. Colleen, let me jump in there, because obviously you've just mentioned the fact that Trump was praising, but so was Pompeo. Why, in your opinion, do you think we're seeing such a change of stance on WikiLeaks from the very people who were praising it previously?
I think these first 2 or 3 months here, the Trump administration, there's been a lot of pressure coming from the neocon war hawks, what actually Obama called the DC playbook. So that DC playbook, and Obama even said it's very powerful and it's very hard to go against. When Donald Trump said he was going to drain the swamp, that scared a lot of folks. It scared the people that want this playbook to play out. They want the wars to go on. All the things that they're pushing for. They saw Donald Trump as an obstacle, and maybe rightly so. Now they have him, through different mechanisms, the firing of some of his staff, the monitoring and surveillance, the leaks. But a lot of it was leaks to the press to control the message in the press. And I think, frankly, Donald Trump seems to have fallen under that spell now. Maybe he does not have enough advisors that are truly loyal to him. Pompeo is a question mark there, because it seems like he's just probably, maybe he always had a bias against whistleblowers. Many of the establishment politicians do have a bias against whistleblowers because they see them as somehow outing themselves. And sometimes if they're involved in wrongdoing, that's the case.
Okay,
but,
Colleen, we could talk about this for hours and hours, but great to have your thoughts on the latest developments on this story. Thanks very much, Colleen Rowley, FBI, former FBI agent and whistleblower.